At the end of the first year, I was so burnt out that I got a medieval illness called pleurisy, and I had to stop broadcasting.
You love an illness. Like, I swear on my life, I've never met a person who loves the illness more than Dan Porter. This song, yeah.
I can't do no small talk, no small talk. I'm not with the small talk. Can't be with the small talk.
That wasn't good enough.
No, it was pretty crisp. It was nice.
That was better. Yeah, and we do it for the mommies.
Yeah, you got to hold that little bit of
Yeah,
space.
just a little bit of space. It's just chef's
Whip
kiss.
crap.
Yeah, I do.
I said
love
whip.
it.
I said whip crap. I don't know what that is.
No one knows what
I
it is,
meant.
but it's provocative.
It's so
It gets the people going.
I love that movie, by the way. Can we just do
What a
Unscripted on the
great-
Blades of Glory?
Yes. You know what? We should also do it on Talladega Nights.
Dude,
the
Sweet baby Jesus.
I'm Ricky Bobby. I'm Ricky Bobby. Anyway, so I'm here with Dan Corder. This is 5 Unscripted, Nick Archibald from the Top 40 on 5. Dan from 5 Breakfast. I've done this with a few different presenters since pretty much 5 Unscripted started. Just getting your journey and how we end here. And also, I never want to be gatekeepers because I truly believe this industry is one of the most rough, if not the most rough on planet Earth.
Bruh.
It's wild. Therefore, being a gatekeeper will not put you in a good place, even though you think it might. Like some of the biggest presenters, especially of old, would have held on for years and years. So let's learn about each other's journeys, learn about our journeys, so that you, sitting at home, sitting in your car, whatever the case may be, can just learn a bit about what we did. Dan, firstly, you're from Cape Town. How does it feel?
Great.
That was the right answer.
Being from Cape Town is great, but being from Cape Town and loving Johannesburg is about the best you can be.
That's what I love. I knew there was something I loved about you.
I love your new haircut.
I mean, I shaved off myself. I actually didn't. But
You
I
didn't?
wish I did. Yeah.
During COVID, I gave myself haircuts down to one every day because you couldn't go outside. So
So you just committed to being ugly.
Well,
I'm joking. I'm kidding. Sorry,
just
that was
wanted,
mean.
I just wanted to find out what I would need to do when my receding hairline finally completed its
just
journey.
a commitment.
Yeah, you had to find out in advance.
No, my brother and I have an argument because we have like slight receding hairlines and like
No, you're doing
who's
fine.
going to get there? Thank you. I
Is
also
it a
thought
race?
so.
Who's going to get
Yeah, who's going to get there first? Archibald. Get involved.
It's in the name.
So Dan, obviously you've been broadcasting for over a decade now.
Yeah, actually, mad.
And I always find that so profound for such a young person because we don't realize how quickly things can happen and also how slowly things can take. So take me to UCT radio. You start there, you're a bit bored of your degree.
Oh, yeah.
And things happen. All of a sudden, you're now a radio presenter. How did we get there?
So I was at UCT. I found being at university wonderful. I found studying awful. Like, I was the guy who just wouldn't go to lectures, would nearly mess up an exam, like take out a book at 11 p.m. and hand in the essay on the book at 5 a.m. And that wasn't an indictment. That's not a reflection of the quality of the education available or the value of learning. What it was I hadn't found out what I really wanted to do. And then at the beginning of third year, I was at one of those Club and Society sign-up days, and I was trying to get people to sign up for the debating union. And somebody came to me and said, look, you need sign-ups to fulfill your quota. I need sign-ups to fulfill mine. You just sign mine, I'll sign yours. I said, fine. I kind of vaguely, it registered what it was, but I didn't think of it twice. I didn't even listen to radio. And then I woke up the next morning and 1,000 rand was missing from my student account. And I thought, well, I can't go jawling now. I have no budget for the rest of O week. Like, it's over. So where's this 1,000 rand gone? It went to UCT radio. That was the sign up. And I thought, well, I better find out if this is a scam, because if it is, I'm going to do some reporting and try and get my money back.
As you would.
Yeah, exactly. And then I arrived and it was so much more fun than lectures. And it immediately bit for me. So like, I had no radio training nor broadcasting training, but the breakfast show at the time needed a producer, and their understanding of a producer was somebody who just will send you a Microsoft Word document of 40 stories a day because they just find the world fascinating and exciting. So while I was learning how to be on air, I was also creating, the prep sheets for the breakfast show to use pretty much from the start and not going to lectures. And then, and then slowly but surely, they had me on air more and more and more, and that was really cool. And then a bit that we did won Campus Breakfast Radio Award, which was cool. It was actually an extended self-pleasure joke, which was funny because it was debating, but a large group of people does it, en masse, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then after 6 months, because the thing about campus radio is your fate is often decided by your lecture schedule because you want to be the afternoon drive host, but now you've got a 3 p.m. in law too.
Yeah.
You can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
So the afternoon drive host suddenly couldn't make the afternoon drive show anymore, and so they decided to move the breakfast host to drive and give me the breakfast show. So suddenly I was doing the breakfast show. At the end of the first year, at the end of the first year, I was so burnt out that I got a medieval illness called pleurisy, and I had to stop broadcasting.
You love an illness. I swear on my life, I've never met a person who loves the illness more than Dan Corder. Okay, so what are we talking here? What happened?
I don't get
Did
ill
you lose
often.
a pinky toe? What happened?
I don't get ill often, but when I do, I only do the niche illnesses.
No, he commits.
I'm a connoisseur.
I've never seen him miss.
I only do the edgy illnesses. Pleurisy is essentially when you've burned yourself out so badly through, in my case, over partying and lack of sleep that the pleura, which is the molecules around your lungs that are supposed to exist to remove friction between your lungs and your chest muscles as they expand, the pleura go. And so when your lungs expand, your muscles also expand in your chest, they grate against each other, and then you're in pain all the time. And the only way to heal is to do nothing. And so I stopped doing radio, and I nearly didn't go back to radio because of this thing.
That's terrible.
So I couldn't do the breakfast show anymore. And then the beginning of the next year, which was my honors year, I said, no, but I do want to do radio. Maybe I can do it more sustainably if I do a shorter show in the evenings, not early in the morning. So I did a 2-hour talk show in the evenings. And that was like fate, luck, destiny, because 3 months after that, Roads Must Fall happened. And suddenly I was the guy on campus who was interviewing the Roads Must Fall lists.
Wow.
And a lot of my reporting and interviewing would end up in the news because it was a source for the big South African news organizations. And then the one day the station got a call from BBC World Service, which broadcasts in 200 countries to hundreds of millions of people, saying, we want to do a 30-minute special on Roads Must Fall. We want someone to anchor it and to make the show, pick guests and whatever. And so they got me to do it, and that was amazing. And then shortly after that, Good Up FM called me. It was like a year and 4 months maybe into campus radio. Good Up had an emergency because somebody had quit out of the blue, and they needed a weekend breakfast host. And they said, we like your voice and your humor. We hate all the content you've been doing. We don't want you to do that. Come on to Good Up and just be a commercial entertainment music radio presenter. And that was basically how I got into the industry.
Yeah, I mean, so I want to take you back because we definitely have to get into the issue as well. Not the issue between us, but the issue with Dan Corder.
Which one? Yeah,
all of the above. I don't know. You have such a profound way of approaching politics, society, stories, and I mean that's where I've seen you really come to the fore, especially the last couple of years. Because you are an entertaining broadcaster. You make brilliant content from an entertainment music broadcaster point of view.
Thanks, dude.
A very radio presenter-like thing. Whereas you're also very, very talented in that. Where does it come from? Where does this innateness to discuss politics, to discuss what's going on around the world come from?
My parents are academics and knowledge obsessed, and they basically taught me that curiosity should be a character trait of yours, and you should delight in learning things. So I mean, I always say this, I'm not someone who's going to tell you should read more for any kind of reading campaign versus watching material or listening to podcasts or whatever. But the fact of the matter is that humans can absorb information through reading faster than through absorbing video or audio. So from a young age, I was just reading. And then in high school, when I wanted to be quite good at debating, and I wasn't, people just said, you just need to read more and know more things. And so since I was about maybe 15 years old, I've spent at least 2 hours a day just reading the news, things that interest me. I was reading about Britney Spears yesterday. I'm not a particular fan, but there was a tweet that led to an interest that led to a thing. And my parents just kind of taught me that if you get delight from learning stuff, and I am that guy who arrives at work and is like, I have 9 things to tell you.
Exactly.
Whether you want to know them or not, I'm going to tell you because they're so cool. I learned them this morning.
Yeah.
So that's where it comes from. And then when
That's
it comes,
beautiful.
The politics and the kind of analysis of current affairs comes from my upbringing with my parents, but also a lot of debating, because the format of debating I did, you got your topic 15 minutes before you had to debate, and you got your side. So the skill was actually learning how to argue from any perspective, which forces you to interrogate and contemplate any perspective, which then allowed me to I don't always get it right, obviously, but I often can think to myself, right, here's an issue. How do all of these disagreeing people individually see the issue? Yeah. And then I can think about them all and go, I know how to represent the strongest version of each of these perspectives, and then still say, but this is my one.
Yeah. Because that's so important in radio. I mean, it's also like, I feel like your debating background has helped you create content better. Whether it's Britney Spears or Cyril Ramaphosa. It doesn't matter, but it's the way you structure it. Okay, so you head to Good Hope FM, you do Weekend Breakfast. How long are you doing Weekend Breakfast at Good Hope?
That was insane, dude. So I told you that I got lucky at Good Hope with somebody who rage quit out of the blue, and then they just needed a Weekend Breakfast host. Like, we'd been talking about something and maybe doing a graveyard or whatever, but there were no promises, and then suddenly they were like, next weekend, do you want to do the Weekend Breakfast? Yeah, I was so bad, dude.
Terrified, I'm sure.
Like, genuinely one of those moments of, you're not ready.
Yeah.
And as you do it, you're like, I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready. I haven't done enough. And then 3 months later, the breakfast show host, weekday rage quit. Suddenly they need a stand-in for a week. And no one is available to stand in that week. So they say, well, we've got this kid from Weekend Breakfast, just throw him in. And again, I was not ready. And there was, as far as I understand, lots of back and forths going on behind the scenes about who should be the new breakfast host. But the long and the short of it is, at the end of the first week, they said, we just need one more week. Please do one more week. And then at the end of the second week, they said, just one more week. And the third week. And I ended up standing in on Good Hope Breakfast as a 21-year-old for 3 months.
Wow.
Because they had just not sorted out who was going to be the new breakfast host. And I was not good, but I improved quite rapidly. And
as you do, because it's consistency on it. Yeah.
And a lot of radio that people don't understand is the way you get jobs is by being in a slot so that somebody can listen to you and go, oh, this person makes sense in this slot.
Exactly.
We should give them that job. So I didn't get the breakfast show at the end of that, but I was given the brunch show 9-12 in the week.
Yeah.
And then after brunch, lunch, and after lunch, eventually breakfast.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So then you are on breakfast for how long?
2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
And then how did the 5FM job come through?
So there was a new management, so a new vision, which happens all the time in radio. So then I was put back on lunch, but I was put back on lunch in the 4th week of COVID lockdown level 5.
Nice.
So like the world had ended. For some reason, radio DJs were deemed essential service workers.
Which makes no sense. I remember being handed a form. I was back in Johannesburg.
Dude.
First he got fired, but when I got rehired, I got a form, and I remember being stopped every day. I got stopped by the army once.
I got stopped by the army too.
William Nicol, and they were like, please provide your, and I provided, and they were like, you're
Totally.
essential service. I was like, I'm going to go talk about sport for 4 hours, but cool.
But we were essential service because we had to fight fake news. That was just the job. We had to go in and use the platform to fight fake news about COVID. And I couldn't drive at the time, so I was riding my bicycle to work, past military trucks. There was no one on the streets.
Nice.
And I was
fast, obviously.
and I was doing lunch.
Yeah.
And then by the end of that year, COVID had thrown things out of whack. I had no real prospects at Good Hope anymore because I'd done all these different shows. I'd been there already for 6 years, and I was only 26 years old, 27 years old. So I was like, what am I doing with my life? And I applied for a dream master's at a university in the US, and I got in, and I got the bursary. So
Everything was aligned.
I was like, cool, I'm going to the US to study this master's in New York. And then out of the blue one day, because really I am not good at the job of networking in the industry. So I had not had chats with stations. I had not put out feelers to get a job somewhere else. I had not even thought about that. I was just going to go and do this master's and maybe never do radio again. And then I got this blind phone call. Our boss at the time loved doing that.
Yeah.
Like he would not send you a warning text or an email.
Every time.
And I got a call at a Forgive and Forget breakfast. Do you know what that is?
No.
Do you remember the show Forgive and Forget on SABC where it was like about reconciling families after a great trauma?
Oh, wow.
It's Forgive and Forget, right? So I was
Were you reconciling with
an
family?
ex.
Wow.
So I hadn't seen her in months.
Dan's been through it. Never mind medieval diseases.
So I was at a Forgive and Forget breakfast where I hadn't seen her in months, and I didn't feel like there was anything to forgive or forget from the relationship, but she was carrying guilt about stuff. She just wanted to explain it, and halfway through that I got a call, and it was from 5. And,
Hold up.
Yeah. And you know, just like me, that for us, generally broadly white South Africans who were raised in English homes and schools in the suburbs of the big cities, 5FM is the Springboks.
Yeah.
It is
the national call.
It's the best call you will ever get. It's the one you never thought you would would get all of the greatest broadcasters you've ever listened to, who you think are the gods, worked at 5. So I got this call and they said, do you want to work at 5? I didn't even know what slot. And I just said, yeah, of course I do. And I came for a meeting in Johannesburg, not knowing what slot they were going to offer, thinking, unless they offer me like something which doesn't look like it has growth potential, I will almost certainly sign. Like, I'm not even going to think about it. Like,
just, I'm in. Let's go.
That American thing would have been incredible, but like, this is the thing. And they called, and then unbelievably, they said, we want you to do the breakfast show, which was, I still think, a bad decision. But the managers who signed me are no longer at 5. It was so brave. They hired a 27-year-old who was unknown to the whole of South Africa, known to Cape Town, but like also 5 hadn't hired a new breakfast host who hadn't already been at 5 in such a long time.
Yeah, good, like 15 years.
Yeah, and
least,
so
if not more.
I just arrived and nobody knew who I was at 5 or across South Africa besides Cape Town, and it was an extraordinary thing. And then unbelievably, I was 5's breakfast host. It was insane.
And it was just a beautiful thing.
There was a rough first year.
It's always rough. That's also what people don't understand is like, even when you arrive and get into these slots, and I know like even like with Top 40 and 5 and 5 Takeover, we started our contracts at the same time.
Yeah, we did.
It was a grind. Just getting into understanding what needs to be done, how we're going to execute this thing. And I mean, I just had me and John, and we had worked together previously, so we were fine. We could like rely on each other. But you had like a whole new team, new producers, new this, new that.
And none of us were already at 5. So we were
all brand
different
new,
places.
Splinter new. I'm working with the team. What helps you the most? Because I've stood in and been very thankful to stand in on your show many times over the last couple of years.
And you do genuinely do a brilliant job.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. But I also need to give kudos to you, your current producer and previous producers who have structured the show in a way that's allowed the team to play. Yeah. Is that something you learned, or did you look at the people around you, look at Oli, Marley and now Thabo, and go, how can I create the space for these people to perform and be at their best?
Well, at Good Hope, I worked with Sandra Rosenberg and Dalen Oliver, and I rapidly realized that they are just so funny, so interesting, such naturally gifted performers, that the actual project of the show was to create relationships between us as a team that meant that we could play. Because I'm a person who believes that there are different kinds of presenters and different kinds of shows, and some of them are hyper structured, and the best way that they can get those teams to perform, sometimes at a higher level than what I do, is very strategic, very planned, pre-prepped, targeted, thought out beforehand. But another way to do it that I genuinely prefer for myself is to create a dynamic of trust and validation, where what you're really trying to do is what improv teams do. So improv teams, it's not really ever improv. They've practiced for years. They know each other. They know where they're going. They trust that they can open up a space for somebody to do something awesome because they know that person. They have a setup to start. They have an out in case no new magic happens. But the truth is that often in live performance, the way that you're interacting, something can happen that is way better than anything you thought up beforehand. And particularly on live radio, for a show which gets a lot of interaction because it's the breakfast show, listeners can do things that are better than anything that you could have thought up. And when you create the relationship with your team, but also the listeners to know, listen in the car, if you do something funny, or you think something profound, or there's a story, we're going to back you and we're going to go with it. And so I treat radio shows as this live thing, and sometimes it leads you to a better place than you could have thought before. And so when I learned that working with Sandra and Dalen, I thought to myself, that's what I want to do. And so when I came to 5, a lot of the rockiness when you start that project is the team is learning each other. Sometimes the team is individuals learning how to interact with each other, what people will and won't do, what people are good at or not good at. But it's a lot about self-confidence too, and about trust. And so it can take a long time, and it can be quite dysfunctional at the beginning because you're trying things and they're not really working and the team is missing each other. But if you get it, and that is, I think, what Thabo, Mali, and Holly are so good at now. It's just like, if you get that team where, and also you almost inevitably, because in this style, you almost inevitably become friends off air, which makes the on-air even easier. Because when people listen, they're like, you really are just a family of people who love each other and tease each other and you're like siblings. We built that. And the first year is horrible teething, but if you get there at the end, it's just, and like, these shows are such a pleasure. Like, really, it's such a pleasure. You just wake up in the morning, you think, I wonder what what he's going to course today, or what Madeleine and Tabo are going to say. Like, and obviously we have a plan, and the plan is good, and the shows are good, but like the sparkles within everything we do.
Because anything can happen at that point, and I love that. I think that's so knowledgeable. I hope you've learned something listening to this. I've certainly learned a lot, and I've learned a lot from you over these last couple of years. Your journey is incredible, bro.
Thanks, dude.
Is there a chance, last question, is there a chance, and I never want to see you go, but is there a chance of ever doing that Masters?
No.
Would you never do it, even in your much later in your life?
No,
because Masters students are all ages, aren't they?
No, they are, but like I am a performer by nature. Okay. I don't say that I'm a creative.
I love that.
I don't think I'm a creative. I don't think I'm a broadcaster specifically. I love performance. I love audience. I love performing with people. I love creating shows, live shows specifically for people. And that's what I love the most. And a lot of the inquiry and delight and excitement that some people get from academia, it's in my shows. So like, no, I'm a performer. I'll probably be performing forever in one way or another, whether it's to my poor girlfriend who has to sit through all kinds of skits that I just put on her one day because I've thought of it, or whatever community theater audience or whatever. Yeah.
I love that. Awesome. Well, thanks for tuning in to 5 Unscripted. You can catch live on the 5FM app. That's Dan Corder, his journey. Dunko means thank you. And I have a beautiful moustache. I think
it does look really good. I mean, this whole look is really good.
I am trying something new, and I'm enjoying it.
Can you please keep it this short for a while?
I'm going to.
It does look really good.
At least until like May.
Of course.
Then I have to fight with the sister-in-law.
Yeah, but the key thing is, what does your lovely girlfriend think?
She loves it.
Well, then keep it.
She's been asking me for a buzz cut for years.
Oh, well, then end of story, dude.
I know. Maybe she'll propose then.
It's buzz cut season.
Come on.
This is 5FM.